Good morning and welcome to Morning Movie News. Now, as you might recall, when JJ Abrams first got the Star Wars gig, everyone was like, oh no, poor Star Trek, what will happen to it? And then things seemed to get even more dire when it was rumored that Benedict Cumberbatch would come over, who was Khan, obviously, in Star Trek Into Darkness, and join the dark side with JJ Abrams. Or at least the dark side as far as Paramount's concerned, because they were like, hey, we're kind of in the middle of something here. But while everybody seemed to forget about Star Trek's woes, Paramount has been hard at work looking for that replacement. And I'm sure JJ Abrams has weighed in as well because he's still going to be producing the films. And it looks like they might have found their guy. Joe Cornish is being considered to direct Star Trek 3, which is a very interesting choice indeed. And kind of JJ Abrams-y, but even more Edgar Wright-y, which I find fascinating. Because while I love Edgar Wright's work, and a lot of people, well, not a lot, that's the whole point that I'm about to make, a small, very vocal group of people like Edgar Wright's work as well, the man's never succeeded at the box office. And so far, Joe Cornish hasn't either. Joe Cornish did Attack the Block, that small independent British sci-fi film, which was very good, by the way. Very well done. A lot of the special effects were done in camera. I think techniques that Edgar Wright later used on The World's End. But it's a very good film. I really liked it a lot. And he also co-wrote the screenplay with Edgar Wright for Tintin, which was also a failure, at least here in the United States. So I think it's fascinating that Paramount would be like, who should we give this franchise to? Who should we consider? Especially having lost our semi-golden goose to Star Wars. Who should we hire? Oh, I know, this guy who's struggling. But, you know, he's not even artistically succeeding. He doesn't even have artistic credibility. It's not even, they didn't even go find some awards contender. But I do think he has a fun tone. As I said, it's more Edgar Wright, actually, even than JJ Abrams. And that might mean more screen time for Simon Pegg as Scotty, which I'm never going to complain about. But I do wonder how Star Trek fans will feel about this. Because I know Star Trek fans are kind of, you know, diehard ones. They're kind of upset that the series has been turned more into a comedy than kind of like, you know, somewhat of a, you know, ethical and social exploration of humanity, which this TV series was, and I think, you know, the movies have dealt with as well to some degree. They've really lost that angle to Star Trek, that element. So I don't really know if an Edgar Wright kind of, you know, tone, or I guess we should give credit where credit is due, Joe Cornish kind of tone, would exacerbate the problem instead of, you know, getting rid of it. But we'll see. I'm sure Joe Cornish seems like, you know, I like his work so far. I'm sure he could add that element if someone pointed it out to him. So I hopefully, you know, the producers or someone who is listening to kind of the somewhat negative response to Star Trek Into Darkness. There was a positive response, which I know many of you had, but there was a negative response. So, you know, I think they would like to go back to having the universally positive one that they had for the 2009 film. Or, you know, the vast majority was positive for the 2009 film. So that's the first story of the day. The second story of the day is over the weekend this rumor popped up that Jaimie Alexander, aka Sif in Thor The Dark World, is getting kind of close to the producers of Batman Superman. And, you know, this rumor popped up because she kind of hinted at it herself when asked about it. And she said, you know, I've been talking to them, I know some of the story elements, but that's all I can say. And she also said they were definitely going to make a Thor 3. We'll see about that. You know, you never know. I think they always say they're definitely going to make another film because they want to seem they have confidence going into the release. I've only heard good things about Thor, though, by the way, Thor 2. I'm excited to see it myself this week, but, you know, nothing's guaranteed in Hollywood, obviously. But I'm very interested in this Batman Superman rumor. Now, when I interviewed her at the New York premiere for Bad Grandpa, she was very nice. I really thought she's a great Sif. She was a very nice, very pleasant person. You know, some stars are, you know, not great. She was really nice, really down to earth. I thought that was refreshing. And she does, and many of you even pointed out in the comments, why isn't this person Wonder Woman? And she does look like Wonder Woman. I still feel the actress who plays Faora would be a better Wonder Woman. But you know what? When it comes to both these actresses, no matter how good they would be, they're taken. And I think that Hollywood, you know, can't go around and double dip. I think it's a major problem. I think, you know, and I'm sure some of you will say, well, what about Chris Evans? He was the Human Torch, and now he's Captain America. But to be Captain America, he had to stop being the Human Torch. So is Jaimie Alexander going to stop being Sif so that she can go and not even do another Marvel franchise, but defect to DC and play Wonder Woman? And then I think everyone's just going to be like, oh, hey, look, it's Sif. But would they actually? Because I don't think Sif really has made an impact with people, despite the job that Jaimie Alexander does. Maybe she does in the second film. I haven't seen it yet. But that might be a reason why it might be worth it to Jaimie Alexander to bail, because Marvel just hasn't been that good to her in the role. So, but I mean, everyone's saying that Idris Elba should also bail and go play Jon Stewart. They should really, DC really should head in there and start poaching actors, because Marvel has soaked up an incredible amount of talent that they are just, I think, arguably not utilizing. But I really do feel that she is Sif. That's the role she has. I don't know how great a Wonder Woman she would actually be. I know that you guys have, she has her fans for that role, but I would like a more powerful Wonder Woman. I think Jaimie Alexander would actually kind of underscore the problems with the character. I don't like it when they focus more on her being like, oh, isn't Wonder Woman kind? She'd prefer not to fight. I'm like, no. I want the Wonder Woman who's the warrior, who's like, oh, you're soft, Batman and Superman. You got to kick the crap out of these guys. That's the Wonder Woman that I like. So that's why I guess my vote would be for the actress who played Fiora. But I'm sure there's an actress out there who could pull it off. Go find her, WB. Stop being lazy, and leave Jaimie Alexander alone. I'm sorry, but she chose her role. But I do think that if she is going to go here, I think not only would she have to leave the Sif role, but I think that Marvel would probably kick her out, because they just wouldn't stand for that. That would just be, I would be like, you got to pick a team. You can't do both. All right, so that's the second story of the day. Well, rumor, semi-quasi story. The third one is also about Thor, and also actually even one of you, Wild Cherry Blossom, asked me about this in the last morning movie news, and that's the news that the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. show will be doing a kind of, speaking of semi-quasi, a semi-quasi crossover with the Thor film, Thor: The Dark World. It was announced that in a coming episode, about a couple weeks into the release here in the United States, the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. will have to deal with the aftermath of what happens in Thor: The Dark World. And I guess they're giving a little bit of a breathing room so you can go see the movie in the first 2 weeks. What are you waiting for? And then they're going to have the characters in S.H.I.E.L.D. deal with the consequences. However, it has been made clear that no characters or actors from the Thor 2 movie will show up on the show. And I think this is just, I think it's creating a really awkward scenario. As you all know, I'm not a fan of this television show. I feel like it was created clearly not to be, great entertainment, but a tool for selling the movies, obviously, as we're seeing here. But I just don't, what is Marvel doing? We always discuss this might be an extension of the cinematic universe, but if the actors aren't going to show up there, which I don't really think they can, because you can't put your movie actors on TV, because then what's a movie and what's television? It just becomes the lines are just too blurred. But at the same time, if they can't show up there, it's just as awkward in the movie and it's awkward in the television show to have like this, weird divided area. Is Marvel going to have a cinematic universe and a television universe that kind of have some bleed over, but it's at the vaguest sort? It's almost kind of like when a lot of us fans were watching the Avengers and we saw the battle in New York, and we're all like, well, how can Spider-Man not show up here? It's just weird. This is the biggest battle the Earth has ever faced, and what is he doing? And then also a lot of us have been discussing with this Quicksilver problem, how can you have Quicksilver show up in the Avengers and not mention that he's a mutant? Because there are no mutants. They don't have the rights to mutants. It's such a weird gray area. And I know that Marvel is stuck with these gray areas because they sold the rights to several characters when they were in a bad way financially to Fox and Sony. But now they're kind of creating their own weird gray areas. And I just think the whole thing's awkward. I just think they'd be better off. But at the same time, I don't know, maybe they can't ignore what's going on in the movie universe because the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is a direct spin-off of that. And I guess they want Coulson to be able to go back and forth maybe, and if he can't go back and forth, if he is going to go back and forth. See, the whole thing's just confusing. It's just weird, and it creates like this weird idea of where can I go, where can I not go. I just think it needs to be black and white when it comes to this kind of a situation. So I think it's a mistake. But I'm not watching the show, so they can do anything they want over there. But I'm curious for those of you who are watching it, are you like, cool, you're referencing the movie I just saw? Or are you like, you're referencing it, but no one came over from the movie, so now I feel it's kind of weird? Or what do you think? All right, so those are the 3 stories of the day. The question comes from Merlan113, who says, question, I know that you love screenwriting and a good script, as I do. Awesome, Marlan113, I'm glad we're on the same page. But then MRLand113 wants to know, but what do you think makes a good director? What is the definition and job description of director to you? Please answer this. If not, I'll be back here Monday. Thank you. Well, I hope you're back here Monday for your answer, MRLand113. Very good question. What does a director do? I think often movie studios feel a director does more than they should, and that's why they feel they can have a bad script, because they're like, oh, the director will take care of it. But I think that a director does a lot of things, but I think it's important for a director to understand that they have to work with a team. Movie making is a team business where everyone needs to contribute for it to really succeed. But I feel the director has to have the strongest voice. They have to make sure that everyone doesn't run in another direction. A director is almost, it's like a conductor of a symphony. They're not playing the actual instruments, but they're making sure that the tone is harmonious, and that I think they're also supposed to be there to make sure everyone ups their game. A director is supposed to come in and be like, you can do better. Cinematographer, you can make this a better shot. Actor, you can deliver a better performance. Set designer, this can look better. Costume designer, does this amp the movie as much as we need it to? And I think that they're there to understand when they should be grand, when they should pull back. They're just really the overall, they're the person who's watching out. They're like the guardian angel of the movie. And I feel that's what a good director does, who's in control of the set creatively. And I think, as I recall, an assistant director and the producers are supposed to be making sure that business-wise the film is in control. But creatively, that's what the director should be looking out for, making sure that everything is harmonious, going well, and really everyone's acting in the best interests of the final product, and looking out for the audience as well. But at the same time, not just giving the audience what they want, but surprising them with what they didn't know they wanted. It's always a mix of that, I feel. So that's my answer to your question. I hope it was helpful. Thank you for asking it, and thank you for everyone for tuning in. Please write down below what you think of today's stories, today's viewer question, and anything you'd like to see covered tomorrow, as well as any questions you might have. Thanks for watching. Bye.